If you've ever been through a narcissistic relationship, you already know. You know that healing is a totally different kind of beast. This isn't your average breakup. So today, we are breaking down a really clear step-by-step framework for that exact journey, reclaiming your identity after narcissistic abuse. Okay, let's get into it.
First things first, let's just get one thing straight. Healing from this kind of experience is not about moving on. I mean, how many times have you heard that? It can feel so incredibly invalidating, right? Because it just completely fails to capture the sheer depth of the damage that was done.
The true goal is something way more profound. It's about getting your identity back. It's a process of reclamation, of literally rediscovering the person you were before they were systematically erased and just overwritten.
And it is so crucial to understand why this recovery is so different. This is not just about hurt feelings. A relationship with a narcissist can literally rewire your brain. It conditions you to doubt every single thing about yourself, to constantly walk on eggshells, and to truly believe that you are the problem. That's not just a feeling, that is a neurological response.
So let's start by properly identifying what actually happened. This wasn't just a bad relationship. We have to call it what it is so we can really understand the real damage that's been done. These were the tools of the trade. Gaslighting, the one that makes you question your own sanity. The silent treatment, such a powerful tool of control. That dizzying, insane cycle of love bombing to pull you in, immediately followed by devaluation to break you down. And of course, that constant heavy blanket of blame for everything. Just naming these tactics, that's the first step to taking your power back. And this brings us to a huge shift in perspective. I really want you to burn this into your mind. You were not too sensitive. You were not crazy. You were conditioned. Your reactions were completely normal responses to a completely abnormal and abusive environment. Period. Okay, so with that understanding, we can turn to the first and, honestly, the most important job in your entire recovery, rebuilding self-trust.
This quote it gets right to the absolute heart of it, doesn't it? The entire relationship was basically a training ground to teach you to abandon yourself, to distrust your own memory, your gut feelings, your emotions, your decisions. Your intuition was probably relabeled as paranoia, right? So how in the world do you get that trust back? Well, it's all about proof. You have to become a detective for your own reality. Start writing everything down. And listen, this isn't to obsess over the past. It's to create an undeniable record that your brain can't romanticize later. This record becomes your anchor when that trauma bond tries to pull you back in.
You know that intense pull, that feeling of being drawn back to the very person who hurt you? It has a name, and understanding it is the absolute key to breaking the addiction.
It's called a trauma bond. And I want you to think of it as a real neurological addiction to that chaotic cycle of pain, followed by a tiny little apology or a glimmer of hope, and then pain all over again. Missing them isn't a sign of love. It is a symptom of withdrawal.
So, if you're going to treat it like an addiction, you need some strict rules. No loopholes. No stalking their social media. No indulging in that little fantasy that maybe, just maybe, they've changed. Every single time you do that, you rip the wound right back open. And if you have to communicate, keep it boring. I mean, facts and logistics only. Remember, they feed on your reaction. They don't want a resolution.
Okay, so once you've established that distance, the active work really begins. It is time to detox from all that chaos and intentionally, piece by piece, rebuild your life. Boundaries are going to be your primary tool for creating safety. And they don't have to be these huge, dramatic confrontations. Simple, firm statements like, "That doesn't work for me," or "This conversation is over," are all you need. And here's the key. They require zero justification. You do not owe an explanation for your boundaries to the person who consistently violated them. Now, this is so important. When you finally create some safety for yourself, I need you to expect an emotional crash. After being in high alert survival mode for so long, your body finally exhales, and it can feel like you are completely falling apart. You are not. Do not panic. This is what that detox looks like. You might feel numb or sudden rage. You might be jumpy and hypervigilant, have sleep problems, or sudden spikes of anxiety out of nowhere. This does not mean you are weak or that you're failing. This means your body is finally processing the trauma it was too busy just surviving to feel before. So healing becomes less about your mindset and way more about your actual nervous system. These practical daily actions are non-negotiable. They send signals of safety straight to your brain. Getting some morning sunlight, taking simple walks, doing intentional breathing, having a consistent sleep schedule. This is how you literally teach your body that the threat is over.
And now you get to rebuild. You have to do an intentional identity reset. A narcissistic relationship forces you to shrink and forget who you are. So ask yourself these fundamental questions. Be a curious observer of yourself. What do I actually like? What are my deal breakers? And then you start acting like that person, starting today. Okay, this brings us to what is often the biggest, most difficult hurdle in healing: finding closure. Let me just give you the hard truth you have to accept. You will never get closure from them, ever. They are not going to give you a satisfying apology or some clear explanation. Why? Because closure gives you peace, and they actually enjoy your confusion because it keeps you hooked. This right here, this is what real closure looks like. It is not a conversation you have with them. It's a declaration you make to yourself. It's that moment you finally say, I saw what was happening, I trust my own perception of it, and I am done with the debate. That is the most powerful closure you will ever get. And finally, please do not do this alone. Build a support system that truly gets this specific type of abuse. A trauma-informed therapist is absolutely key. Find support groups. Lean on friends who have actually lived it. And you have to protect your healing by avoiding anyone who tells you to just get over it. They don't understand, and that's okay, but you need support, not judgment. I want to leave you with this one final, crucial idea. The goal is not to get back to the person you were before the relationship. That person is gone. You've been through a fire. You are becoming someone entirely new, someone stronger, with sharper instincts, more awake to the world, and ultimately someone who is finally truly free.